A young Zen monk named Kasan lived in a small temple on the outskirts of a village. He was known for his peaceful demeanor and wise teachings. One day, Kasan took his small boat out onto the lake for a moment of solitude and reflection. As he was meditating in the middle of the lake, he noticed another boat approaching rapidly. At first he thought of shouting a warning, but then he realized the boat was empty. It was just drifting in the water, caught by the wind. The boat came closer and closer until it bumped gently against Kasan's own boat. Kasan felt a surge of irritation and anger rising within him. How could someone be so careless as to let their boat drift into mine? He thought. He stood up, ready to express his frustration to the owner of the boat, but when he looked closer, he saw that the boat was indeed empty. There was no one on board. Suddenly, his anger subsided, and he realized the futility of being upset over an empty boat. As the wind continued to guide the empty boat, Kasan watched it drift away, and a sense of peace returned to his heart. He saw the situation for what it was, an empty boat that had simply crossed his path due to the forces of nature. In that moment, Kasan understood the deeper lesson the universe was teaching him. Just like the empty boat, negative thoughts can drift into our minds. They might bump against our inner peace and provoke irritation or anger. But if we examine them closely, we often find that these thoughts are empty, without substance. By acknowledging the emptiness of negative thoughts and not attaching undue importance to them, we can let them pass by like the empty boat on the lake. Kasan returned to the shore with a renewed sense of calm and a reminder that true inner peace comes from letting go of the unnecessary burdens we create in our minds. This story teaches us the importance of not allowing negative thoughts to disturb our inner tranquility, and how, like an empty boat, they can be observed and released, leading to a more peaceful and centered existence. Here is another story which goes like this. Once, a young disciple approached his Zen master, troubled by his own thoughts and emotions. He asked, "Master, how can I stop these negative thoughts from tormenting my mind?" The master replied, "Let me tell you a story, young one. Imagine a person who is struck by an arrow. The pain from the arrow's wound is sharp and intense, but what if that person, instead of attending to the wound, were to shoot himself with a second arrow?" Perplexed, the disciple inquired, "Why would anyone do that, master? It would only increase the pain." The master nodded and continued, "Exactly. The first arrow represents the unavoidable challenges and negative thoughts that life presents us. These are the natural pains that arise from living. However, the second arrow is the suffering we inflict upon ourselves through our reactions, judgments, and resistance to those pains. The key to stopping negative thoughts, the master said, is to recognize the first arrow as a part of life's experiences. We cannot avoid the first arrow, but we can choose to not shoot the second arrow of suffering. By letting go of resistance and attachment to our thoughts and emotions, we can stop perpetuating our own suffering." The disciple pondered this teaching, realizing that it was not the negative thoughts themselves that caused suffering, but his own response to them. With this newfound understanding, he started to observe his thoughts without judgment, and as he did so, he found that the intensity of the negative thoughts began to diminish. He stopped shooting that second arrow. From that day forward, whenever negative thoughts arose in his mind, the disciple remembered the master's wisdom and chose not to add unnecessary suffering to his experiences. Over time, the disciple's mind grew clearer, and he found greater peace by accepting the first arrow while refusing to shoot the second. And so he learned that by stopping the second arrow of his own making, he could navigate life's challenges with a more tranquil and composed mind. This story teaches us that while we may not have full control over the thoughts that arise in our minds, we do have the power to control our reactions and the suffering we add to those thoughts. By understanding this principle, we can work towards stopping negative thoughts from affecting our inner peace.